Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Shred the Veil. Daniel here with my brother Derek, and today we are joined by James Rink, and we're really excited to have him on the program with us. Uh, James was in the Space program and has had some recalls with his experiences in that. And you can also find him on Rumble, YouTube, and various other places with his show Super Soldier Talks. Um, James, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I've been doing this since my first video came out in 2008. It was so bad but anyway, so Super Shoulder Talk really began around 2010, and my goal was to bring together other experiencers similar to myself so that we can learn from each other and maybe we can heal each other or even like try to stop what happened to us. But right now, I'm just really grateful to have this opportunity to come on here today and to share with you, and whatever questions you may have, I'll do my best to answer them. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
And that's awesome that you've done that and been able to build that community of people who've gone through similar experiences and try to work together. That's really a great mission for sure. But yeah, let's talk about that. How did you first realize you were in these programs? Like, when did you start having these recalls? Like, or how did that happen for you?
Well, my self awakening began back in 2005, and I'll share. I know we've already discussed that. I've already shared it other platforms, but for people who don't watch these other platforms, maybe I'll just go ahead and just repeat it again, so that way we can start off from ground zero here. So back in 2005, my awakening happened when I encountered my friend Nathan, and he had abilities that um telekinesis. He could see the future, could see aura. So he also had some human type strength. So I was just joking with him one day that perhaps he's a super soldier, and to check out this article put together by Andy Perot, the Project Superman thing, which was you can find that. Well, I found that on the David Icke website. So my friend didn't want to look at it, and then what I would describe as alters through dissociative identity disorder, multiple personality disorder, could possibly slash that too. Next to that, demonic possession. A lot of things was going on with him, but these alters would come out and tell me that he was being taken to a military base where he was being put on a treadmill, and he was also being experimented on by Dr. Gray. So
So these would be like different personalities that he would take on as you're interacting with him.
Yeah, he would tell me that these other people that were messaging me through the messenger were his friends, and I later realized these other friends were his alters. I think it was Jeremy, ZZ, Dante. So I'm trying to pretty sure, yeah, I think there's a few others in there, but yeah,
Okay.
so these alters would tell me what he was experiencing. So I would recommend to him to try to use his abilities to defend himself. And so a month later, he comes back. He tells me they're deleting all his memories. He's in a white room, in a white place, and soon he won't remember me. And that, yeah. Okay, so 2 weeks after that go by. I think I'm roughly maybe a month goes by. I contact him again. This time earlier on that day, somebody was following me around the mall, taking my picture, and I was trying try to get far away, and yeah, they were like would not, yeah. So I told Nate about it, and he said, "Oh, I'll take care of it." And then he told me that he activated my DNA so that I can do everything that he could do. And he said he looked in my head and he saw a bunch of weird things. So he wouldn't really elaborate on that, but um, let's go ahead and move forward a little bit more. So let's say, I guess, another month or so goes by again. And this time he tells me he destroyed, I think, 3,400 worlds, I think it was, or 30. I don't know. It's in my book, the exact number of planets that are involved in this. He destroyed the Gray's monetary system. He said that I'm one of the Supremes, one of the most powerful beings in the universe, and that he was Lucifer, and that us fighting in our past lives is what caused the canyons here, or at least some canyons. And he said that each time we fight, we kill each other and then we get reborn. And so I told him, well, how about we just, I don't know if maybe he was psychotic. I don't know. So I just told him, well, maybe we could just do something better this time. So ultimately, what happened with that is later that night, I saw like an orb. I heard something moving around in the kitchen downstairs, and I saw an orb in the doorway. So I decided, and some papers were moving, flew off the counter at like 3 o'clock in the morning. So I decided to go down there and slam the door because I didn't want to see what it was. And then later that morning when I woke up, I slept in a sleeping bag and I had these 3 claw marks down my shoulder. And I've taken pictures of a lot of these things. And then I started getting needle marks in my mouth, and then I got a scoop mark on my earlobe. They had a chunk of flesh went missing, and also under my finger, I saw a chunk of flesh go missing under my fingernail, and a rod was put under my fingernail. And that hurt pretty bad. So the
And
needle
Wow.
marks.
you would wake up in the after sleeping with these things. It happened in the middle of the night.
Yeah, like I would wake up with blood stains on my shirt. I had blood stains on my shorts that I slept in. I would have little needle marks going down my spine. I would have like, let's see here, what other weird stuff. I have a scar that goes from this side of my mouth to this side, and I've taken pictures of it. And there's usually like injections. They like to put injections inside my mouth. Um, I've had laser marks. I've had laser marks in areas which are to me seem an inappropriate place to put them on. So I would, let's see here, I'm trying to think of other things. Sometimes I would get triangular shaped scabs. I had once I was getting those on my lips. And then on Valentine's Day, I think it might have been 2008, the triangular shaped scab was in the shape of a heart. So I'm like, okay, somebody's playing a joke. I don't know. Either way, I'm getting these marks. And then so Nathan at this point, he messaged me again. The last message I got from him was that he is in some kind of facility. He's holding a power cord, which is he's able to telecommunicate through the power cord into the internet to communicate with me, and that he's bleeding and soon his matter be wiped from existence, and that I won't ever see him again. And then, I mean, so that was it. So at that point, I started to get like this. I was getting needle marks, and I got this issue. I had paralysis. I couldn't move, and it is my belief that my alters were starting to come out at that point because I was getting triggered. Because I think Nathan and I were in the same projects together, but ultimately, what happened is they sent me to the hospital because I couldn't this paralysis. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, and they charged me $25,000 for 3 weeks of where basically they just told me they couldn't figure out what's wrong. They released me, and at that point, nobody wanted to really help me, or
Wow.
there's not medical community to help cases like mine. My family was not interested in this because they just witnessed what happened when I was sent away for 3 weeks, and then I couldn't afford to pay the bill, so I ended up back. Had to go back into credit repair with my credit ruined. But the point is that it's not easy to go through these type of things. Sometimes people like to think that maybe having these abilities and part of these projects makes you kind of superhuman in a way, and maybe I am, but these abilities are locked up in other altars, and I don't really have access to them, except if I get traumatized. I do, but anyway. All right.
Wow. That's a lot to digest for the audience, I'm sure. And you mentioned a lot of these marks and things. Do you have did you ever take photographs and
Oh yeah, I've got thousands of pictures. Are you wanting to see them? Because I can bring it up if you let me share the screen.
that's interesting. Yeah, I'm sure if you want to share one or two.
Okay, give me a moment. Let's see here. So I'm trying to find the best ones because I did this one time. I was sharing my pictures, and I had I had a like a folder of group pictures, and one of them was like on my ass, and so I just accidentally showed it. So I want to make sure I show you the right ones because you want to see parts of my body. Yeah, keep this appropriate. All
No,
right. So okay, hold on a second. Let's see here.
while you do that, at the same time, it's interesting. You were in the hospital for, you said, a couple of weeks at a time, and they couldn't figure out what was
3 weeks.
wrong.
They said I was had psychosis NOS, which is not otherwise specified. It's a condition where they think this is basically all made up in my head. So even the doctor said he was psychosomatic. So hold
Hmm.
on a second. Let's see here. Okay, I think this is gonna work. All right, so we got can you see that? Maybe I can make it bigger. If it does that help if it's bigger?
Yeah, no, we can see. Yeah, yeah. I think
All
that's
right,
good.
we got 3 needle marks here of a little scab to the right.
Right, right.
I get these needle marks underneath my fingernails. That's one of the ways they could torture and make trauma alters is through they put needles under the fingernails and genitalia, and then they can run electroshock treatments through it, and it can really screw with your mind when they do that. But anyway,
So
so
was this over a course of a few weeks or a few months?
oh, this is these pictures are probably just from 2005 to 2010. I've got a lot more. I'm still getting them. Yeah, it's my belly button. Get like scars on my chin right there.
Hmm.
More needle marks. Yeah,
Is there
I
is there
woke up.
pain, like pain when you find them because it's like
Sometimes they're very painful. Like one time they stuck something up my nose and it went all the way up my nasal cavity into my brain. I don't know what they did, but I had the most horrible migraine headache. This is my finger that they did a scoop mark. That was back way back in the day before I got good camera equipment. So, but yeah, I get these scabs in my lips, another laser mark on my arm. Uh
interesting?
Yeah, this is needle marks down my back. I couldn't really take the yeah, so you can see right there some blood stains. I wake up in the morning. Yeah, just weird. Some more marks. This was a mark on my ear. Or yeah, this was I might have a good one. Yeah, little tiny needle marks on my lips. I get those uh little scabs and things. So yeah,
Right.
yeah, this I probably have some better pictures I could show you. I don't know. So that's yeah, that's nothing. Oh yeah. So this do you know who Chris Bledsoe is?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, well, he's been on probably like Ancient Aliens or something, but I don't know. But he had an encounter in North Carolina where these grays were showing up on his property. And so I went down there to stay at his house for a night. And he went outside to smoke a cigarette. And then I look at my finger and I have this little scab that's shaped like this on my finger. Like I don't know, like it's right, probably like in this area. And it
Hmm.
looked like that. So I talked to a psychic. They said it meant hospital, but whatever, whatever that is. I wish I took a picture of it. I didn't think of doing it at the time. I guess I just was tired. Yeah, this is a triangular shaped scab that kind of see a little mark around it, a little bruise. Um, Nate tells me that's a mind control gun. Uh, so
Interesting.
all right,
And so
that's yeah.
that no, that's pretty good. I'm glad you were able to show some stuff like that to kind of confirm what you were talking about. And so a lot of this happened once you started talking to with this guy Nate, right? Within a few months.
Yeah, yeah. So all right, I'll go on and I can continue on with the story here. 2 years later, I finally locate him again. He's posting poems about killing women on a poetry site. So I reach out to him and I ask him, why are you Nate, where you been? Why are you posting poems about killing women? And his girlfriend messaged me saying that Nate doesn't know who you are. So I sent her 200 pages of transcripts from our conversations. And at that point, the girlfriend wrote me back and said that Nate made it all up. So I told her, could you please have Nate contact me to tell me that he made it all up so I can move on with my life. And Nate wrote me back under the name of Gray Wilder. And he said that there's no evidence of any government logs of brainwashing or aliens ever existing. Something that the information you archived is being made up in your mind or whatever. And then he said something that we're watching you. And so I wrote him back. It says, "Why are you signing this name as this gray person?" What? And then I wrote the girlfriend back, say, "What's wrong with him? Why is he saying this? Why? If this doesn't even sound like him." So
Right.
okay, so the last message at this point, she tell me that he's hanging out with other kids that are telekinetic, just like himself. That he wants to start the new world order, and that he's one of the chosen ones. I mean, I have all this stuff in my book. If you want to read it, but so he said that
Interesting.
she told me that she's waking up at night with glass shards on her back, and Nate's nowhere to be seen in the house. And she found bottles of embryos with his name on it, in the basement. So she said that she's like in a daze or something in those regards, and she just won't be able to contact me anymore. So at that point, I left it alone. But this aspect of my story. I do have more information about how we were in the cages together. I talk about that the Flying Cobra division on Mars. Um,
Yeah. So
uh,
before you go into those details, because I know you've got a lot of memories
Actually,
of.
I got another mark on my arm. This was a couple, I think it's like 2 days ago. I'll show you.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, they
Yeah.
still coming.
Okay.
Jeez.
So yeah.
So this hasn't really stopped, it's been continuous since that time. Like pretty much on and off. You've had these more scars, more things come up. And
Oh yeah, that is correct. That
so
is
so
So
what yeah, we're kind of curious too, like how did you in your own mind, because I mean to decipher what's happening from the normal reality that we are in, and then how you go from day to day and you take all this information, and what really like made you believe, I guess, in your mind, okay, this is something real, something happening.
great question. So during this early time, 2008, 2010, I was getting these marks and I wasn't getting any answers from my religious belief system. So I wasn't getting answers for much of it. Even meditating, I couldn't figure out what was going on. So ultimately, I went into some kind of group chat with there were some professional government remote viewers, and I was showing them the pictures, and they were saying that this was government and they don't want to get involved. They just didn't want to help me out. So, yeah, but eventually later on, I came, through when I was working with Adam. Adam had memories of us together in the Alpha Squad, and I have that information in here with when I talked to Tian through Adam. But Tian was a 14-foot tall reptilian from Diomedes. Hold on, I think it's 1464 or something like that. But he said that his planet was taken over by negative reptilians, but he was like he's like a hippie scientist that says fuck the establishment. And so he reached out to me through Adam, and he told me that he saved my life because they put me on a mission where my CO, whoever, wanted me dead for whatever reason, so they left me to be abandoned. He came and rescued me, but he became attached to me because his job is to make clone bodies. So that's how I'm being utilized, is through my consciousness aspect is being utilized through clone. I believe that's how it's done. However, I think I've also been in my own physical vessel through experiences too. But they put me into what is called the avatar. Well, avatar project. So these typical avatars are actually called Cybus and Arbus. So they would enhance their DNA. So my clone bodies on Mars, for instance, for that work for Kruger, are approximately 8 foot tall. So
Mhm.
they need taller humanoids out there to fight with the certain reptilian creatures, because some of them can get 7.5, 8 foot tall. So they're
Right.
yeah. So they have enhanced DNA. But yeah. So Tian was telling me that I was in the Alpha Squad, and or that's at least who I work with now. But Alpha Squad is basically a group of super soldiers that worked for other planetary corporations, usually the negative ones, and they were slated for extermination, and then they escaped. So these super soldiers got together and started doing freelance work for themselves. And eventually more super soldiers joined, and now it's basically the Halo series is what describes what Alpha Squad has to go through, because they actually, it's in the future, Alpha Squad grows to become the most elite group of super soldier. I guess you can call it planetary corporation out there in the future. So they subcontract again, I guess some of them with the negative again. So, but ultimately, yeah, my name in Alpha Squad is Agent Sabretooth, and my ID number is 54363. The first number is the generation, a super soldier, because I was part of the Ultra Soldier program. So
Mhm.
that sort of ties in. I guess I can explain that now, because
Yeah, yeah.
the different types of super soldiers out there. Yeah. So um, there are a few different types of super soldiers. For instance, there are ancient super soldiers, and these usually there's a Sumerian connection. And Michael Sala actually put out a good video about that, where
All that.
the
Yeah.
giants. So there's a connection with giant DNA, superhuman enhanced abilities. So there's also entities attached to like these Sumerian gods and goddesses.
Right.
There's also a connection with that too, because there was actually a mission where I was sent to take out Arisha Gal. So in the current time, in the here and now, she goes by the name of Heather Shaw, and she has the Shaw House has an underground dump or facility below London, and it stretches out miles. So there are homes in London where they look like normal homes, but when you go inside, they're connected to these dumps, and they're all under the Tower Bridge and all that. But
Wow.
Shaw House is connected to human, if I guess I can say it,
Yeah,
traffic.
yeah, you can say
Okay,
it.
okay,
You can say
okay.
it.
So yeah, so they're pretty much I wouldn't say they're responsible for everything that goes wrong on this planet, but a lot of it. So like the British royalty, they're connected to the Shaw House. So yeah, so in the mission that I did, I was sent back to take her out, and I killed her, but she didn't stay dead. So I don't know. I don't have that information why she didn't stay dead, but I guess these gods and goddesses, apparently they're a little bit harder to kill. So
So just for a second, so explain what Shaw House is for the audience, because I know they don't really know what that means.
Hold on. House of Cain, the bloodline of the House of Cain. So that's their connection. I think that's what actually where originated from. But
But it's basically a corporation in our modern time, right?
uh,
Wait,
I don't know if you would call it a corporation.
or
Yeah,
organization that it's
organization. That sounds like better because
yeah.
her sister Janet Shaw is the one that recruited me to Montauk, and so I can go into some of that, but let's just go back to the so we've already discussed Sumerian super soldier, the ancient super soldiers. There's also ET type super soldiers. So there's a unfortunately there's a lot of bad things that take place. Let's hold on a second. I think it was Randy Kramer who said this that about I would say maybe 6% of the universe, 6% of people are usually problematic. So most of the universe out there, it's positive. It's just there's a few negative people that are creating problems. So
Right.
that's why there's always a need for a super soldier out there. So the ETs have their own. I talk about a few different types in my book, like the Grail type. They're like a gray reptilian hybrid, and that they're being hunted down and various reasons. Yeah. And there's other, other types, but anyway, so let's just go on here. So we also have ultra soldiers. So ultra soldiers were created by paperclip scientists that came here to the United States that were working on different generations of super soldiers. So the first gen was connected to like the Korean War era, and every 10 years is a new gen of super soldiers. So I guess by we're looking at what 1970s would have been Gen 3. So Gen 4, so roughly probably
So
about the 80s is where
so the first gen would have been like what, mid 50s or into the 50s?
early 50s.
Early
So
50s?
yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, a lot of these programs I would the Germans were brought here around 52 is when the whole secret state apparatus was created here with the we've got Wild Bill Donovan and of course Bush Senior connected this where all they're setting up the converting the OSS into the CIA. So
Right,
and then,
right.
the whole secrets state program. But yeah, so all this originated started beginning then. So they would take about, I think it was, hold on, I think it was like 10 participants or 20. So they would pick soldiers that had unique abilities, probably like Native American, Irish, Celtic DNA, typically. And then they would take their DNA and then breed it out or whatnot. And then that would be Gen 2. So I was Gen 5. Now, Gen 5 had a batch of 700, I think it was a 730, something like that. And I was embryo 340. So a lot of
And
yeah,
so how did you get that information though? Just real quick. Where did
that
that come?
information came from Sarah Adams, who was she has
Max
memories.
Spears' girlfriend, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So she was kind enough to, when she escaped temporarily from her handler in the facility, she used her eidetic memory to pull up a bunch of files, and she was nice enough to look for my file, and so she shared that information to me. So for that, I'm always in her debt. So, but yeah. So let's see here. Yeah. So um, by the fifth, so by the fifth generation, most of those kids had superhuman abilities. But typically they would look for people that were more controllable and suggestible. So I was in that list where I discussed that in my book. I reached out. I had a contact that worked for DoD, pulled my records, and under Umbra 8, they found I was in the three projects. One is Project Abandonment, and in Project Abandonment, they found that I was basically a defunct super soldier. So what that basically means is that I wasn't cooperating, and they wanted to figure out if they could use nano femto and later nano pico and later femto injections to correct the um, behavior. So I don't. I guess it worked because I spent 330 years in the secret space program. So either way, okay. So
Interesting.
it's so now what I like to do is discuss something called Project Surrogate. So does anybody here know what Project Surrogate is or heard of it?
I know it by you because I think you talked about it with your
Okay,
mother. Yeah, yeah.
excellent. Okay, so what Project Surrogate is are people that are involved in these programs have been targeted by certain, I would say, reptilian or Draco. Also, the negative mantis are involved. There's other groups, the Matra, so on. But these groups have worked together to share their databases. And when a participant in Project Surrogate, what happens is when they die, their soul does not go back to heaven or wherever you call this astral plane existence to get healing from between each life. So they get captured and then put into a new clone body. So unfortunately, I got stuck in that program. So my particular surrogation process, my last surrogation, my name was James Martin Rilsberg, and I actually think his clone body is still alive through remote viewing. But I was Delta One U.S. Army, and I died in '79. But that information came from Peter the Insider, who helped me out when he pulled up some of my records. And it's actually kind of funny because I used to write poems. My pen name when I was a kid was Martin. So, but anyway, um, okay,
So
hold on.
real quick, I,
Uh,
I know you have so much information. Let me stop you because how you correlate the information you've gotten, like for us, we're trying to do the same. Like with our grandfather, we're still trying to research and find out. You just mentioned Peter the Insider, and you've gotten information from Sarah Adams and some other people. So has all this started to line up? Have you starting to see? Do you see how there's these dots that start to connect, or what? Like, has it always been
Exactly. Yeah,
this way? Like,
exactly. Uh, um, I mean, I have memories when I was a child. I remember being in this castle and they told me to stick my hands into this table and I to pull out a toy out of a wooden table. And I did it. But the thing is, I'm thinking this memory is so distant. I think this is a residue because I think I really loved that toy so much that they couldn't erase that memory of it. And I was so proud of that thing. But so that was also part of the ibis aspects. I'm getting some of my memories back. I discussed about this a little bit on Carrie's interview about the white mansion where they would take us kids. And there was this one memory where Bush Senior is reading this book, and he's discussing about how we Nazis are a superior race, and he's telling us that if you help us, we'll be
wow.
rewarded, and that you are part of us. And every time he's saying this is like we're being hypnotized, and we have like these cocky pants and shirts and they have like swastikas on them, and the children are all happy because we think we're special, but we're all, but at the same time they're torturing us. They would put us in these rooms where they would just turn the lights on and off all the time, either darkness for a day or bright light for a day. They would starve us. They would use electroshock treatments, and they would tell us our families abandon us, they hate us, and that we are their new family. So this is the ibis aspect that I went
And
through
so are these like dreams or like kind of like just like they're kind of
uh
thought mind?
through
Okay.
through regression work. Yeah, I was able to recover it. But
Okay.
that particular altar, I think his name is Rob Richter, and that's where I was connected to the Hulk program through Umbrella. So I think like these are other alternate realities where these take place. So over there, I'm active, but over here, I'm just a civilian trying to explain what happened to me in these other aspects. But
So you
and
so
I think the
this also,
injectable. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Dan.
I was just going to say, so just to understand the kind of timeline. So that I was programmed. That was when you were a kid.
89 to 93 or 92, something like that.
Okay. Okay, so I guess may have been the beginning of what the indoctrination they were giving you to eventually become a super soldier. Was it intentionally part of like a 20 and back type program, and then you got into the surrogate program and just kept going on
Uh,
for
yeah,
the
good
300
question.
years?
I believe that I have been in this body served, but I also think they have us served through clone bodies, and this I didn't explain that aspect too, where um embryo 320, I think it was called, was cloned out. So they would, like, I don't know how many clones they made of it, but my soul was in each one of these bodies. So the first clone, let's just say clone one, was put with my mom. She raised it to term to the up to the age of 3. And then they take it away, and that aspect of mine goes to the moon, and I can discuss what happened there. And then they put me in the place of that. So it's still me, but I don't have the memories of it because it's in another body. Okay, if that, I'm thinking hopefully I answered your question. I don't even remember what the question is now, but
So yeah, I mean, but that okay. So once they kind of brought you into these programs as a child, and then you grew up in these programs, and they went through different indoctrination things and various forms of torture to get your alters established and cloning you and things like that. And then they at one point they got you back into this timeline and where you are now in this consciousness.
yeah, so if they were to just take me away and keep me in an underground facility and torture me and program me, they found that we're a lot weaker. So they have to give us civilian lives so that we would become, I guess, have a reason to unwind. Is That's what they think we're doing, is unwinding here on planet Earth while we're serving. They think that this is a vacation being here. So up there is where all the work is. So our memories get wiped. We come back. Usually they don't re-age the body properly. So internally there's still problems resulted for being, over 300 years old now. So in my particular case, there's like, I have digestion issues, and there's the fatigue issues connected to, I believe, there are these injections I'm getting. And so it's not easy being in this position. But yeah, there's a lot of money invested in each one of us. In my particular case, it was billions of dollars with the different clone avatar bodies and programs and projects. But yeah. So my Rob Richter altar worked for Umbrella eventually. At some point was sold off. And that's where they have this alternate timeline where Umbrella, as featured in the Resident Evil series,
Yeah.
existed. So in this alternate reality, Umbrella was trying to, humanity was more negative. So they were creating a virus to reduce the amount of aggression in people. So they released this virus, and it infected a crocodile. It mutated, and then crocodile bit a human. It happened in Miami, is where it took place, and the zombie apocalypse took place. So the head of Umbrella in that reality is Richard Bay, and over in this reality, he is the actor Tom Cruise, or his clone aspect. So yeah, so Tom Cruise is in this reality is responsible for securing adrenochrome for the Church of Scientology. That's his role. But I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, Bill Gates and all those folks all work together here. But so the Hulks were made. Okay, so in that's other, or even in this reality, if the Ouroboros was released, what would happen is that there are the average person that becomes a zombie would not be able to open a door. A very smart, intelligent person, high IQ, a zombie could open a doorknob. Whereas a super soldier that became fully activated, the zombie would have all their abilities fully activated, and they can walk through the door or glass window. It's scary as fuck when that, if you were to witness that. But so they made these Hulks that they are immune to Ouroboros, and they go in there and they can take care of these super soldier zombies. That was the yeah. So Bruce Banner as featured, and I think was it Marvel? I'm pretty sure it's Marvel. Yeah. So yeah. That's soft disclosure, but yeah. Anyway,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I, I'm,
Um,
I'm, st- I'm still curious about the 300 years. Was that like, did that take place all into the future or in alternate realities or in the past, or did you have time travel
Oh,
involved?
it's a lot, all of the above. So, for 40 years at Montauk, I'm pretty sure. I know I spent a couple years at this Monarch facility where that was where they were starting to groom us. They would take us kids and they would give us drugs to prepare us for being in outer space. And these drugs would keep you in a catatonic state where you can't move and all you want to do is just throw up all day. So that they this orphanage, and I think it's located in Tennessee. It's an all brick building and underground. It connects it to a dam. But yeah, so I think I was there for 2 years, but they even were experimenting on babies. So yeah, a lot of the memories are all associated with severe amounts of trauma and abuse and torture. So uh, I don't know if you know if it's really even a good idea to recover these memories, especially the ibis stuff. But I guess it is what it is. So um, right, I'm trying to figure out. So what we did. Oh, you know what? I could discuss what happened when my aspect went to the moon, the other clone body. I suppose if you want to hear that story.
Sure, yeah.
All right, so the way this occurred is my mom is telling me she has these dreams of I'm being taken up on a spaceship and I'm being taken away, and she has these memories, or I guess dreams, so that that I'm not her son and that they're gonna take me. She's always so in a way those dreams were real, and but it was so that aspect remote viewing, we go back in time to figure out when when I was actually changed out, and we go to around the age of 3 when I show up in the carriage, um and then my mom wakes up and she lifts me up and she immediately knows I'm not her son, because the son that she had, the energy is different even though it's still me. But so that aspect was taken to the moon, and then he was placed in this cage with 50 other kids. There were 4 cages there in this area, and these other kids were mostly black kids, but they were from some other planet where they have like some kind of superhuman abilities. Not, I don't know. I think Corey Good actually talked about some of these black people from the Zulu tribe, world nation people. But so we were being trained to see if we would become good super soldiers. So they would teach us how to have programmable matter. So programmable matter is where you can have weapons pop out of your back. Um, you could they would teach us how to levitate, how to walk upside down. They would give us that aspect of me. They would give him spider DNA and reptilian DNA, so they started to become mutants. And then it's almost like a multilingual type family where um, everybody feels like they're the same unit, but the humans and the reptilians were living together. And then the reptilian children, when they would hatch at there, because there's a hatchery below, they would become extremely aggressive and they would do these hide and seek games, and the children were just being traumatized. But my particular aspect managed to survive all that. And once you survive the trauma, eventually they give you a number. I don't remember the number that they gave me, but the other kids that didn't survive were sent for adrenochrome facility. So yeah, I do have a memory of that one. I don't know.
So where does the memory come from, I guess, and that is,
This one through regression work. Yeah, so
and how do you go to your regression work, or how did you find the right person to do this regression? That's kind of my question too.
uh yeah, I work with a lot of different people. Some of us have we're in similar programs. Some of us serve together. But this particular case, I think Colin was helping me on this one. He's been on my show before. But yeah. So anyway, let's see here. I talk a little bit more about that in my book, but I guess we can move on to the next one. So do you have any other questions you want me to ask, or you want me to just continue on here?
I had a question about we talked about alternate realities and parallel timelines and stuff like that. You talked about the umbrella group. Do they have the ability to go from reality to reality, interact between the two, take things or manipulate one or the other? And what's the advantage or disadvantage of doing that? What are the missions that involve that kind of?
Yeah,
Well,
and before you answer that, I know Peter the Insider talks about this a lot. I mean, that's kind of what he does. His missions are to go to these alternate realities, at least from what I can gather from his videos. So, yeah, what is there the bad and the good fighting each other against realities, or how does that work? Yeah,
uh, okay, what was the question? Okay, so yeah, that's a good question that you should ask DARPA. So DARPA's role is to take the trash or the leftovers from these other planetary corporations, some from other alternate realities, to backward engineer them and so on. But they have the bottom; they're basically the bottom of the rung of the technology. But there are there's something called the ICC, the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, and
yeah,
their trimerative, I believe I'm saying that word right. Their council is on the moon, where they would have different planetary corporations come together, and there would be a representative. I wouldn't be surprised to see Richard Bay there, Paul Serene, aka Kevin Spacey, and
yeah.
this reality. There is Janet Shaw would be there, the actress. Uh, It'll probably come to me. Kara Sandman. From that one is from Detroit Become Human series. Cyberlife. And there'll be other yeah. So then we have representatives too from probably Space Force. I wouldn't be surprised would be there, and we'd have Dark Fleet and also Kruger. Gabriel Kruger would be there. So. And I did some work with Kruger too. Actually, this is partly the problem of with in my particular case with my memories is that, like for instance, for Kruger, they would have multiple clone bodies and they would send it on missions, and then afterward they would keep him in stasis. So after every mission, they would erase his memories. So how am I supposed to get my memories back when my clone aspects don't even remember either? So that's the kind of predicament that the programs that I went through. So anyway,
Mm.
I think I answered your question. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's pocket realities too, where they can come back and forth. So that is a big problem. Just this past maybe a month ago, there was some fires that smoked out New York City.
Yeah.
Supposedly that was from Rainstorm Corporation, which is a parallel reality corporation. Where so they're coming here to experiment. They view this as like a place to experiment. So that is an issue too. Like even this timeline is not supposed to exist because the South won the Civil War. So everything has been changed and altered through Montauk. So if we're not even on the original timeline, then why did even anybody else would care about us if you're a negative planetary corporation?
Wow.
That's very interesting. And so, like, so you just said the South won the Civil War, and like the same when you talk about the Nazis winning World War II and the Man in the High Castle, that whole series is built on that. But what's to say that we're on a different timeline than the original timeline? How do you even?
Well, my understanding is that although the other timeline, there were some benefits to it. Like for instance, when the South won the Civil War, we never got a Federal Reserve. So everybody had lots of money and life was a lot better because the states had all their rights and the federal government power was basically muted. There was the state national guards were protecting the country, and also Jefferson, was it President Jefferson Davis, freed all the slaves, and so they didn't do all the Jim Crow laws. So under the Confederate banner, it was actually more equitable for all the different races. It was better off, but
Interesting.
um, yeah, the only problem is it was less technology, so it would be equivalent to the 1960s in the current era over there. So and also Washington, D.C. turned into a giant slum, and the capital was in Richmond. So
Right.
I did a video about that. I went to Richmond and I went in front of the White House, the Southern White House, and it's really sad. They built a giant hospital like practically right over it because like nobody had any respect for that site. I guess because
Yeah, we're from Richmond actually, so we know exactly.
oh, okay, so you know that site. You know what I'm talking about down there,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Winter White House.
exactly. That's interesting. Yeah, wow.
So let's see here.
And talking about timelines before we
The
leave
South
that.
won.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
The South won the Civil War by what they would do is at Montauk, they would send groups back in time to, and also they would have U-2 bombers, U-2 spy planes that could fly right through portals directly into the past, and they would take pictures of the troop movements. They also went back into the Revolutionary War and took pictures and showed the Continental Army was basically defeated. So we had some help, I guess you could say. So in regards, maybe I think to people that allow the time travel to exist, the Time Corp, and you could call these groups called the Observers, as featured in the Fringe TV series.
Right.
They're basically like archangels that control the time. I think they allow the monkeying around the timeline if it benefits humanity in the long run. So, like I said, well, I haven't said this yet, but most in this particular timeline, it showed nuclear war taking place. But I think Creator God or whoever is in charge of things is allowing some of this stuff to take place, so we can shift over from away from that to a directly we call a Great Awakening timeline where we have Nasara, and it's So I think somehow we managed to do this where we have advanced technology and more advanced technology in this timeline, and we also had when we have Nasara, we're gonna have more money. So I think this timeline may actually be the best one. So, but we'll find out soon enough. Yeah.
That's also, that's kind of where we want to take the conversation, is what kind of the future looks like as for what you've seen.
Okay, good question. From Montauk looking into the future, where there's nuclear war and 98% of the population dies. However, I think through some of these programs, maybe such as Project Surrogate, where a lot of people have come back in time to not time, or from other worlds, ETs, starseeds, have come back here to try to transmute that. So the observers have the technology to reset the timeline. That's why people have Mandela effects, because in those other timelines, I think there was destruction, because I personally remember Tank Boy being run over in the Tiananmen Square. I saw the blood on the street and I see blood on the tank, and the reporter's mouth were just shocked. They were not barely even saying anything, and everyone was shocked and evil. And I went back and looked at that video. It's like, wait a minute, that didn't happen. But it's not just that. What? How about the Britney Spears supposed to have a microphone in her mouth, and the plaid dress has changed or something. Now it's a gray dress, or I don't remember. So and I remember the song the song that never ends. This. You remember? I don't know if you remember that one.
I remember that one.
But now it doesn't end. They changed it. It doesn't end. Yeah.
That's definitely different. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, we're shifting over. Our aspects, we died over there and our soul shifted back to this aspect. So we don't even remember it. We're being reset, but we don't remember the other aspects because it's a quantum kind of aspect, and our 3D physical brain cannot comprehend the whole quantum multiverse.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's part of like our because we're basically like a slave race. They didn't want us to comprehend how quantum everything is. But anyway.
Well, that's the best explanation I've heard about like Mandela effect. So thank you for that. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
There's other, Peter the Insider's discussed how if you had an encounter with the Men in Black, they actually have a neuralizer. Those things, that is a documentary, and that's Division 6 of ACIO. But they would, if what they would do is they would wipe your memory, and they would take the memories from another alternate reality. So you would have different memories of things happening because you got visited by the Men in Black. So that's another idea too. But I guess you wouldn't remember that being visited if they paralyzed you. But anyhow.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds good for potentially for our future. And I guess what about the timeline Derek mentioned about the Nazis winning World War II, that spawned from obviously where the North won the Civil War, and then it got into the history that we know of, and then it shifted at World War II. What happens that time?
Like for instance, when the South won the Civil War, they didn't go into they didn't go in World War I or World War II. So during World War II, the Nazis just took over Europe and they killed off the British monarchy, the Queen, the reptilians there. So the British monarchy had invested interest to make sure Montauk changed that. But in that reality, okay, so but there's another reality where the Nazis won over here when we had the United States. In that particular timeline, Hitler Okay, the SS were basically gang banging orgies with the Nordics, and the Nordics were giving them this racial um, theory about them being the chosen race and the Jews being inferior. So that whole final solution was put together by these negative ETs. So in this other alternate reality, the Nordics lost interest in the Germans, and instead Hitler embraced the Jews, and they put them in charge of their money, and then they won the war. So in that particular timeline, it was actually better for most people,
Wow. Okay.
because
So the Nazis and the Jews you aligned in a way.
so what they would do is they would go to other countries and offer them advanced technology, as long as they adopt their principles. And a lot of countries said, okay, we'll agree to that. So when they invaded the United States and took it over, the East Coast went to the Reich. So I think it's called the American. Hold on, American Reich. And it's controlled by their main party there is ARN, the American Reich Nazi Party. And so some of the people that you see as politicians, like Trump, is very high up over there in the Nazi Party, and he's actually the governor of the East Coast, or that region, because the West is controlled by the Japanese Empire. But so he actually told, because some of the Nazis were the police. You're not allowed to speak English in public. You have to speak German over there. So if you're caught speaking English in public, the police can use electric cattle prod. And so the governor Trump was telling Hitler that if they continue to do that, there's going to be another revolution. So they started to back down, allow people to speak English in public, but you're not allowed to have public affection. You can't like hold hands or kiss. That's extremely taboo. Um, you're not allowed to interracial marriage is not allowed. Yeah, I guess it'd be even more taboo. Like different, white and black person kiss. That would be really, yeah. So they have like these communities where people can go for that. But
So how do you get that? Where did that come from? Do you remember?
This was Peter the Insider, but I also talked to Pauline Maxwell, Pauline Max, I think Pauline, I'm trying to remember. She was one of the Monarch girls, and so actually she messaged me on Facebook, but she messaged me from Underground Dumb, and the AI caught it and they deleted my profile. So I lost like 10 years of photos and all that when but yeah, I had a relationship with her. Anyway, I'm digressing, but she was over there in that alternate timeline, and she said it was a lot better over there because Hitler gave Nikola Tesla unlimited budget. So they got the anti-gravity technology, teleportation. They have re-aging tech. So they also have, they live in mansions unless you're in interracial marriage. You don't live in a mansion, but anyway. So they also blew up the Washington Monument and put in a spinning eagle, 150-foot tall spinning eagle in its place. So yeah, the man from the High Castle got so many things wrong, but I think was his name Van Dyke? Was his name Van Dyke? Who, the author, the author of that?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyway,
but it was an interesting series. At least it opened up people's mind to that idea. So yeah, we recommend that at least to get an idea of what you're talking about. If the Nazis did actually win, like this is a whole nother reality completely.
Yeah, so they had their advanced technology. They have technology where they can create whole pocket realities, and they can take there's reports of whole regiments popping out into existence in the outback of Australia, complete with Nazi tanks, Nazi soldiers. So they have the ability to portal in the whole regiments from other realities. So it can create a huge problem if they were decide to come here. But I think I think they're just maybe they're losing interest because Kruger is over here. Kruger is a military contractor from that reality, and they're over here too. So that was founded by Gabriel.
So really quickly, like based
Yes.
on the alternate reality, jumping back and forth, who gets to control who goes from one reality to the other, and which corporations like Kruger or who is it that
Are there laws and like universal laws or anything, or just it's free for all, whatever?
There's a group called Time Corp which regulates it, but typically Time Corp, the time travel aspect is so I mean there's nobody really regulating. If you compete with Time Corp, they're going to win. So, but typically they just leave everybody alone. Yeah,
And
it's a huge problem. There are, we have like beings in charge of, like we call karmic councils. We have beings in charge of universes. And my opinion, they look the other way while this takes place. So I think really the whole reality we live in is pretty much just fucked up. That's my opinion. And we have really bad leadership in charge of the universe. And unfortunately, we are, as humans, they tell us that we're here for learning experiences. My opinion is I think they're the whole, the people in charge of this reality, what they want is they allow the abuse to happen because souls can grow when they're being abused. So the idea is just to keep the abuse. The problem is the abuse is just so rampant that now everybody just expects to be abused, and that's the problem. Just everything's just I'm going digressing
that's
here.
important. That's important to
This is
get
great. Yeah,
your
I like this. Yeah,
opinion about that.
keep going with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've reached out, try to communicate with the karmic councils, and I tell them, so when can you bring justice to this? And they tell me, oh, this is something you got to figure out. So that, my opinion, they need to go.
Yeah.
If they think that abuse and trauma is good for our learning lessons, then these people, unfortunately, the whole unit. In my opinion, the reason why we see so much trauma is because the people in charge of this universe are psychotic. These people have not incarnated into human bodies. Anyway, I'm going to stop if I get myself in trouble. So, all right.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have to grasp this concept, and we've talked about it many times because there's so much abuse and all these things happening all over the world. It's like, why is this allowed? Why does God allow this to happen? And I think, I mean, I don't know if it's true, but I mean, you think your higher self or your higher person, whatever it is, your higher being says, I had a contract and maybe this is what I had to do to reach the most people or evolve the most way spiritually myself. Like, I don't know, like seeing people like Tony for once, he went through so much, but apparently he's kind of on the up and up. I can't say that's the case for everybody, and maybe not for you for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I guess, I don't know. It just depends where you are along the way, but I can definitely see your point of view. I can see it's got to be difficult.
I mean, from like a soul progression evolution kind of perspective, we come to this 3D reality to learn these lessons, and it's where you have most physical traumas and pains, those deep experiences that you don't necessarily have at those higher dimensions and densities and things like that. But if it's out of hand, like you're saying, it's just so absurd and ridiculous that it's not really working as it's supposed to, I suppose. Yeah. Um,
Yep. Yeah.
Looking back at the future of this timeline, do you, I mean,
Okay. Yeah, you're right. I didn't answer your question.
looking at you had mentioned the Nazi timeline, like the Tesla technology being really funded and developed and everyone having access to that. Is there part of this current timeline where eventually those things become public and available and accessible and part of our reality?
So my understanding of at least what I've been told is that we might see some kind of martial law scenario where we see tanks moving around in the streets on the highways, and then there's going to be some kind of mass arrest event where they're going to put us all under lockdown, and then at that point we'll have the release of Nasara, where I think all debts are going to be discharged, but what I mean told now, there's a possibility maybe only 90% of all debts are going away, just to keep people responsible somewhat. So we may not see a total debt jubilee, but either way, I'm kind of hoping there will be a total one, because the debt, all that was based on fraud. So
Right.
so we'll have some kind of universal income, and then eventually advanced technologies are coming out. There's 6,000, some say 9,000, either way, patents that have been suppressed under national security reasons. So all that technology needs to be released to the public so we can quickly go into a Trek type civilization where we have free energy, we have food replicators, although you may not want to eat the food out. The quality of food is probably not going to be too terribly great, but you could still we'll have teleportation where we can deliver food from the from the farm to the market within a few minutes. So every food is extremely fresh, cheap, maybe not free, but cheap, but and healthy too. So
So you're
we'll
saying it's a good thing. We're going to see some progress, hopefully.
yeah. So the planet's supposed to. I was told it's going to flip this summer, but maybe it'll take 24, 25. We'll see. But going even looking further in the future by 26, 27, looks like everything is flipped at that point, and the white hats or whatever you call the so-called alliance, in my opinion, doesn't exist in name yet. What I was told, the alliance will emerge around 2054 or 2053, something like that. Space Force will be renamed the Alliance. And then 100 years later, it's Space Alliance, something like that. Space Alliance, and then it becomes Earth Space Alliance, like on 2153. But so it'll take 5 years to heal everybody with a med bed, so probably won't be to 2030 until everyone's healed and we can be as whatever age you want to be. And then also we'll bring back Tartaria back to planet Earth to make this place the way it used to be before all these resets. That's a whole nother topic,
Oh
going.
yeah.
Are you too familiar with Tartaria?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I'm really interested in Tartaria and learning more about it. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, let me just, okay.
That almost feels like a bleed through from another timeline, almost like because now we're just finally seeing stuff pop up. Like I don't know how that works.
Well, I think it exists in another timeline, but in this timeline, it ceased to exist around 1814. There was a series of attacks from ET, what we call the custodians, where they basically took the civilization was, my opinion, it was headquartered north of China. They actually built the Great Wall of Tartaria, not China. It was
Ah, okay.
they kept it. They wanted to keep the people inside that area from escaping because the elites there were enslaving people. The civilization turned negative, but we see like Egyptian looking type people running that civilization, and these custodians are also Egyptian type people, and they're the ones that destroyed it. So, but remnants of Tartaria moved all around the planet. That's where you get the steampunk type civilization ideas that you see like in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That type of technology what started going onto the bottom of the ocean and maybe even to pocket realities I talk about Mobius in my book, and also Black Shield, where they make the Lixadat and Super Soul. I didn't even go into that, but so yeah, and then so we so Tartaria will be coming back, and then we'll start to see everybody that wants to have their memories that were involved in these programs will be allowed to have their memories back, and then going further into the future around 2060s, the Galactic Federation, which has a system in quarantine, will be leaving, and they will be expecting humanity to defend themselves because they don't want to babysit us forever.
Right.
And then going into 2070, the super soldiers, the SSP assets, or really anybody who wants to sign up will be allowed to join. By then, the alliance will exist. And then there's going to be a battle where humanity takes care of the Draco and the system, the Thuban Draco, because these Draco are basically infected with black goo, and they're the ones causing that have been involved in all these keeping humanity down. So a lot of people are going to be super excited to sign up to fight the Draco and take care of the problem, which the battle will take place in 2098. And then I'm pretty sure humanity is victorious, but the problem doesn't really go away for another 1,000 years. And that's, the Bible talks a lot about that. There's like a period of 1,000 years of peace and so on. So, but anyway, that's my understanding of what we'll probably see in the future.
Okay, wow. So with med beds and the age regression type stuff, I imagine people's lifespans are going to be. I mean, you can choose how long you want your life, apparently, or
Exactly. If you want to, if you are an older, mature adult and you like the look that you have, you can choose to remain that age. You have to go back and re-age yourself every now and then. But the technology can also reanimate the dead. So as long as they're not been dead for more a week, maybe two. I don't know if to get away. Maybe if it's frozen, I get away longer. But yeah. So the definition of what it means to die will need to be changed. The definition, taxes and all that, death and taxes, all that stuff will be going away. So, yeah, it'd be a really interesting reality that we're about to emerge into.
Wow. Yeah. That's mind blowing. Yeah, for sure.
So what about the people involved? Because a lot of the players, the key players right now, and like maybe like the election, can you say who is there anything that you would know or
Okay.
other?
My understanding is the planet was supposed to flip right after Biden got elected. They were going to arrest them on TV at the inauguration, but there were nuclear or weapons of mass destruction planted throughout American cities that was threatening to be detonated. So if the White Hats made a move back then, we would have seen a total destruction. So my understanding is that it'd take them another 2 years or so to clean everything up, and here we are in 23. So I think things are pretty much clean, and so I think the flip's going to happen now. So as far as who's the next president, um, I'm pretty sure Trump will be involved, but we may not see the United States. It may be something different. It could be
Yeah,
some kind of council type government or something. And maybe JFK Jr. Or another aspect connected to that will be involved. But yeah, um, but I think the United States, the corporation, all that's all going away soon. So yeah. Anyway.
that's good to hear. That's good to hear. And one other thing we had kind of like, what is your take on Elon Musk, or who the main players are in the technology that's coming out? Uh,
Well, my understanding is Elon Musk has access to these programs. So when he's talking about going to Mars, that means he's probably already has been to Mars. My understanding is he knows about it, and he may have even has been there. But yeah, so uh, remote viewing him, we see uh, like something that looks like a clown, black and white. Half of the aspect is positive, the other half is infected with black goo, negative.
right.
Um, but the positive aspect looks like it wants to fight with the negative one. So I would say he's more kind of neutral, but possibly moving more positive is what, yeah, that's what I'm looking at anyway. So
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, well, he had to make deals with the cabal to get the money he has, but we'll
Uh,
see. Maybe he can do a one up on all of them.
yeah,
Hopefully.
that'd be
That's how
great.
I see if you have that much money in any case, you've got to make some deals somehow in this reality anyway. But
Do you
interesting.
a lot of your going back to like your missions off planet, where did most of those take place? Were they local to the solar system? Were they
Well, like for instance, I remember being in a dark fleet, a little, at least one memory I can share. So I was second class navigation asset on, I believe it was the Aphelion, which is the flagship, but typically it's reserved for pencil pushing officers and the elite. So I have no idea how I got on there, but I mean, I was only second class, but I had to serve under a Draco. So what was happening is that I was uh, in the mess hall. I wouldn't eat all the food on my plate. I would skip some salads or fruit or whatnot. And typically, if they caught you not eating your food, you would be put back in the trip chair and reprogrammed, or sent to medical. So they would force feed, inject you and force feed you. So I was just doing half of that. Okay, halfway. So I didn't get in trouble, but what I did eventually, I did get in trouble. So I started getting my memories back of having a life on planet Earth. So one of the things they did is they would allow us to have an away mission, and I went to this planet that was controlled by the Galactic Federation. And there's an area there. It's like think of the Soviet Union when we have there's like an embassy in near the Kremlin. So Americans are allowed to go around the embassy, not a certain, they can't go too far, but they can stay right in that area. So Darkfleet had an embassy on this planet, and so I was going around the area. There was some shops there, and there was a shop that had all these crystals, and so I went inside, and there was this lion being, and he didn't really want me there, but they kind of resented us. So I wanted to pick up this crystal, and he showed me how to use it, and then that's when I started getting all these memories back of being on planet Earth. So what happened is Gonzalez, Corey Good's handler, was caught spying. He tried to infiltrate the to see what the weapon capabilities of the Galactic Federation were, and he got caught. So immediately they had to excavate. I'm not excavate. Hold on. Get
Evacuate.
evacuate. Thank you. Evacuate personnel off the planet. And then my CEO was. They wanted to know what kind of new memories I was getting. So I didn't tell them, but I think they found out that I was getting my memories back. So what they did, they gave me another one of the hammer treatments on my forehead, and then more of my they upped my alcohol ration to yeah, because I was meditating. They wanted me to drink more instead of meditate is what they wanted to do.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's my Bertram Alter is his name. But
Okay.
yeah, and so the upper class personnel there and the Darkfleet are infected with black goo, and of course the Draco they made a deal. The Darkfleet has been around for 10,000 years. So the Germans, the Nazis, whoever, that aspect, because the Germans actually been on Mars since the 1850s. But when the Nazis came into being, they aligned themselves with Darkfleet because they had similar mission statement, I guess you could say. I don't know, but they quickly got over their racist ideas because when you're working with aliens, you can't be racist like that. Then when they find out that humans are actually not the superior race out there, because the average IQ, of course, here on planet Earth, it's 100. So when you're out there, just because you're in a higher vibration density, the average IQ is like 150. So the average IQ of like aliens are like 800. So and Draco. So the humans are just basically, we're just like, just imagine working with mentally retarded people. So essentially that's what our species was like. So the upper echelon of Darkfleet decided to consume black goo, and that brought their IQ up to like maybe 400 or 500. So they're extremely smart and cunning, but they don't have connection with the soul consciousness. And so they don't have heart chakra, the heart consciousness of love. And that's why these organizations exist out there where planet Earth is starving and we're struggling. These other organizations don't seem to care because, unfortunately, I'm telling you, if you think the problems on planet Earth are bad, you should look what's going on up there. That's what I'm just saying. It's like the microcosm. It's just a mess. Everything's a mess. But I'm hoping that things will start to change when more people become awake and wake up, and then we get these technologies, and then humanity in the future, the so-called ideas that you see in Star Trek will start to emerge, and eventually, we'll see new organizations occur which are more equitable to all people, I think. So anyway.
You bring up a good point, and I think that's kind of where we're going to leave that as far as the AI topic in human and spirituality. And you can evolve, or you can advance your IQ, or enhance your physicality, and all these things. But if you don't have your connection to your soul and to the the one source, then it's really a good way of evolving and that aspect. And then can you really ascend or whatever? And so maybe these other groups, like you're talking about, can only go so far. And they're going to ultimately be held back, and hopefully our future and our humanity will evolve in the right way. But I think that's kind of what we have to deal with, and wake up to that reality, and
Great.
split right there, right?
Exactly, Jared. All right. So we have like a few more minutes. Do you have any other questions you wanted to throw at me, or would you like to take this?
Yeah, you went through a lot. I mean, Dan, unless you have something, unless there's like to close out what the main kind of message you want to say at this point in time. Yeah.
Or recommendations for people to help humanity and get us to the right timeline. Things like that. Anything?
Okay. So it is my belief that, I mean, even Dolores Cannon has discussed this, that there are multiple timelines and future realities. So I think the reality you go to is based on what you vibrate, what your resonance is. So if you're a positive person, you go there. So from our perspective, everybody else just comes with us. So, but if you were that person, they might be going someplace different. It's like I'm saying, it's kind of hard to comprehend how that's possible. But if you continue, just try to be a good person yourself. Try, for me, meditate, try to, always try to have compassion for other people, try to be service to others, and so on. So if you resonate with that, then you'll draw more of that into your life, and that's why I think, again, like I said earlier, with the star seeds coming here, our goal was to change the timeline, and that's what I think as a consciousness. What we did, okay, in the original timeline, most of humanity was so beaten down by the cabal that their plans manifested. So these high vibrational beings came in here to try to turn the planet to more than 50% positive, so that the manifestation, because everything has to be, all these plans have to be manifested by the consciousness or the vibration of the planet. So since if we can keep ourselves positive, then we can keep the planet's vibration positive, so the plans of the dark are not able to manifest. So we actually flipped to 50% positive. I think it was like 2021, 2021. So like August or something. But since then, we've been positive timeline.
That's awesome. Okay. Thank you. And I guess before we leave, if you want to just kind of tell people the name of your book, where they can find it, and your shows and everything.
Sure. So you can get a copy of my book at my website, Neological Tech. So Lone Wolf, that's about 404 pages. I mean, there's a lot more. I got the information about the Hold program. I've got more information about my alter Derek Reinhold. I got some pictures from Preston and myself when I went there. He died in 2005. Actually, I'm putting together an event. So obviously,
You went to Montauk, right?
yeah, I'm bringing together some people. So now we sold out the first house. So if you want to go, it's $1,200. But again, for people watching this years from now, it won't matter. But if you're watching this right now and you're interested, send me an email at supersoldiertalk at gmail.com, and I'll send you the details. But yeah, you can get a copy of my book. I also have information about I didn't go into it, the Hobie Baker stuff. So that's the reason why my last name is Rink, because I was Hobie Baker in another timeline. The hockey player.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
I don't. This is not my book, but yeah, you can, if you want to learn. If you want to learn what actually happened to Hobie Baker, you need to get my book instead, because I go into that. But anyway,
Cool.
so also, let's see here, subscribe on my Rumble channel, Super Soldier Talk on Rumble, and I also on my website, supersoldiertalk.com, where you can find other interviews. And so yeah, I'm pretty sure that covers it. So yeah.
Yeah, well, James, I was gonna say thanks so much for what you do, because I mean, people don't realize you've been in this for a long time, and when you had that interview with Carrie Cassidy, it really brought to light the fact that you were in the room while the Max Spears and James Casbolt or Michael Prince, whatever you want to call him, that was happening all back then in the early days, and you were there, and for whatever reason, you were wanted to be behind the camera instead of in front of the camera, but I think people need to realize that you've been in this for a long time and trying to search for the truth. So
yeah, well, I had memories of working with Casbolt too. I see myself out in the jungle, and we're a lot bigger bodies, and that's actually not in my book, but there were some missions where they would teach us how to shapeshift, and I would turn into this cat-like creature. But I don't know if Casbolt was on that particular mission, but I remember seeing him in the jungle. So and it may not even been on this planet, because there was I talk about the planet Centaurian, where they take some of the there's like a super soldier training camp there, and the Abatava one in Alaska. So that's in the other Nazi timeline. But yeah, just go get a copy of my book. You can learn about that. So
definitely.
Awesome.
thank you all.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for all that you do. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you being on the show and sharing so much information. This has been a great discussion. I really enjoyed it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, James. Yeah.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Now, I want you to ask what I've told you Is it going to make any difference in your life? You better wake up, better change, get interested, changing your life.